Welcome parents to our video to show you how to contribute to your students' 2024-2025 FAFSA form. We put this video together to help you navigate how to help your student with their application. We're going to talk about how to accept the invitation that you receive from your student. We'll talk about the sections of the application that you're going to need to complete, including the demographic section, the financial section, how to review, sign, and submit your portion of your student's application, and what happens after the application is completed. So the first thing you're going to receive is an invitation from your student that says, hey, your student needs help applying for financial aid. And it tells you a little bit of the information as well as that you need to log in with your FSA ID. And so you'll click on the link and the link will take you right to your login. Now, if your students invited you and you haven't received the email, sometimes it goes to junk mail. So if you have an FSA ID, you're going to go ahead and log in. And if you don't have an FSA ID, no worries. Just click on create an account and you'll be able to create your FSA ID. You'll also be able to log in to your account if you're struggling with, like, maybe you don't know maybe you forgot your username or your password. If you click on help me log into my account, you'll get assistance in being able to get to that. Everyone has to create an FSA ID who contributes to a financial aid application. So we've created some resources for you. So everyone has to make one. It takes 1 to 3 days to have your information verified. And sometimes it can take longer if you don't have a social security number and have to go through something that's called ID proofing. And we have resources to help you with this. You'll need your own phone number and email address. And make sure it's an email address that you're going to check. The phone number is actually optional, but you have to have an email address. And then again, everybody has to create one. You no longer need a social security number to create your FSA ID. So if you don't have a social, no worries. We have a couple walkthrough videos to help you. So the next thing that you're going to see once you log into your account is you're going to click on My Activity. And under there, it shows you like all your applications. If you already have a federal student aid account, maybe you have your own student loans. It shows all the other like things that you've done. But it'll show you that you have an invitation from your student. You want to go ahead and click on Accept Invitation, and then it's just going to let you know, hey, you know what? We have some information we need you to fill out about this application to help your student. And when we say that you're a contributor for financial aid purposes, this just simply means that you're contributing information on this application for your student. It does not mean that you're required to financially pay for your student's education. It just means that you are providing information so they can be assessed for federal and potentially state financial aid depending on their circumstances. The next thing it will take you to is onboarding videos. There are 4 videos that walk you through what financial aid is, what to expect as a contributor, and what happens after the application is submitted. So just as a reminder, if you're married, your spouse or partner, or if depending on your marital circumstances, may need to contribute information as well to this application. It's going to ask you a couple questions to determine who's going to have to provide information for the student's application. It's going to ask about identity information. So this is all the information directly from your FSA ID. If anything's incorrect, no worries. You can go back into your FSA ID and correct the information. On this page here, it has your mailing address. Any of the information about mailing address, that can just be updated directly in the application. Next, it's going to ask you about providing consent and approval. So consent is required for students to receive federal student aid, and it says it right at the top of the page. Provide consent and approval, or the student will be ineligible for federal student aid. It tells you what that means, and ultimately it means that you're providing consent that your federal tax information can be transferred directly into the FAFSA form from the IRS. So some parents will have to manually enter information into the application, but ultimately they're trying to get as many of the financial information components directly from the IRS so that there's less errors. If you decline consent, your student will not receive federal financial aid. I encourage you, it talks all about what it is right there in that section. But the nice piece about it is we don't have to most of the time go through our taxes and figure out like line 47 minus Schedule A and then enter all of those numbers in. It just directly imports a lot of the information. And if you do have to fill out the information for financials manually, there are little help questions that tell you once you put in what form you've done to tell you where to find that on your taxes. So the next is parent demographics. It's going to ask you information about your marital status. Now, if you are unmarried and you both legal parents, you're all living together, or if you're married, not separated, or remarried, it's going to ask you for information about your spouse or partner. And so it'll go on to the next screen and it's going to ask for their name, birthday, and social security number, as well as an email address. If your spouse or partner does not have a social security number, no worries. You just click on the box there and it'll ask you for physical mailing address information. And that's how they connect the two accounts. So it's going to go into finances next. So this is where they're going to import that data from the IRS if possible. And really, this is showing the IRS or showing the federal student aid in the application, really your ability to pay for your student's education. Now, if you have a special financial circumstance, let's say, it's asking about 2022 income information. If you have had a reduction in work, lost income, or have lost a job, or anything where it's a reduction of your income or other special circumstances, you can actually appeal to the financial aid office to consider your current income and ability to pay. And they have some really amazing resources on the federal student aid page to help you. So make sure that you reach out for that support if your current financial circumstances are not matching up to what happened in 2022. So it's going to ask your filing status. Did you file a joint tax return with your current spouse? This is going to help them determine if consent needs to be provided by one person or both. If you file taxes separately, it's going to need consent to bring in both tax records. And if you file jointly, then typically they just need one parent to consent to that information being brought over. It's also going to ask if you've received any federal benefits. This does not impact your student's ability to receive aid. And if you're not sure, it's okay to select none of these apply, but I would go through, you can kind of check your taxes or you'll know if any of these programs between 2022 and 2023, if you or anyone in the family received benefits from any of these programs. It's also going to ask your family size. It's going to import family size from the taxes if applicable, but I encourage everybody to check yes to see the actual family size just to make sure that it's accurate. If you check no, it's just going to continue on and you click continue, but if you click yes, it'll show you the family size and you just want to make sure that you're including yourself, if there's another parent in the house, and then it also includes the student in there, but it also is going to ask you if you have other children or dependents that live with you and receive more than half their support from you between July 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. Next, it's going to ask how many in that household that you put together are going to college next year. They're not going to use this to determine aid, but if you have multiple students going to college at the same time, let's say you have one of your students is going to college right now, and the student you're doing the application for is going to be number 2 going to college. It's okay to connect, like especially if your student sees a decrease in aid, your student who's currently going to college, it's okay to connect with the colleges after financial aid offers come out to see what options there could be. I also encourage scholarships. Scholarships are a big puzzle piece for paying for education after high school. And then there are so many scholarships that are out there. I see scholarships go unawarded every single year because students don't apply for them or not enough students apply for them. So we want to make sure students are applying for scholarships at the same time. Our goal is to try to make sure that students are using as much of the gift aid as possible and scholarships so that they have the lowest cost of attendance for loan. We want to have the smallest loans possible and truly, if possible, no loans. So It's going to ask some questions. If it couldn't import information from the IRS, it's going to ask about IRA rollover. If you had rollover from a pension, it's going to ask if you yourself received grants or scholarships or benefits for educational benefits that were reported as income to the IRS because you received so many funds that it was beyond the cost of attendance. And then it's going to ask if you've earned any foreign income. And then it's going to ask about child support received and assets. So you may only see the child support received section. You may not see parent assets. Parent asset questions are only provided depending on your circumstances. And so it's going to ask if there was any annual child support received. And then it's going to ask you about your assets. Again, you may not see these questions, and if you don't worry. But if you do, it's going to ask how much is the total cash savings and checking amount, and don't include financial aid in that. It's going to also ask if you have a business or if you have an investment farm. And so if you do, what you want to do is you want to enter the net worth of the business. And then it's also going to ask if you have any investments or real estate that's beyond the home you live in. Once you enter in your assets, then you're going to go to reviewing the application, signing and submitting your portion of your student's FAFSA. So before you sign, you want to go through the sections that you completed. You can expand all of these sections and see your answers just in a different format. It helps to be able to see it in different format. You're going to go through, and if you see something that needs to be corrected, you just can click on the hyperlink and it's really easy to fix it. Next, it's going to ask you to submit your signature. So to submit the form, you have to sign it. And all you have to do to sign it is read through and click the box that says you agree to the terms that are outlined above. Once you sign it, it automatically submits your portion of the application. What happens is the student receives an email that says that you've provided your information. If all the contributors, that's parents and students, have finished their portion, it will also tell them that their application will be processed in 1 to 3 days and that they'll receive information from their schools. So after the form is submitted, your portion, your student again receives an email once all of the sections are done. So if you had to invite a spouse to provide information, your student's application won't be completed until they click on that link and follow the same process. Then once all the sections are in, it'll go from received and completed to processed after 3 days. Financial aid offers, or what you hear is called like award letters, they're going to be delayed this year. So your student may not know how much they're getting from their college right away. I encourage you, this is the norm across the nation, is because there's been a delay in data as well. So no worries, but you may not see financial aid offers from your schools until, definitely not until probably like May, June, maybe even July. So, as you wait for your offers, I encourage students to kind of look at their schools to see if there's any of the schools that they've decided after research may not be the best fit, and then wait for those award letters to come in so that they can determine, also based upon how much they're receiving, what school they want to go to. If your student's going to the community college, make sure they also apply. The community colleges are open door admissions, but you still have to apply. And a lot of schools have orientations and class registrations that happen starting in May all the way through summer. So we want to make sure that financial aid is just one part, but that your student applies for admissions as well. If you or your student needs help, we have a Padlet for you. This Padlet is very easy to access, and it has how to apply for financial aid in different steps. If your student is stuck or need help, there's guides. There's also lists of events where you and your students can get help with questions, as well as we will have financial aid offer workshops over the summer to help you and your student navigate what those award letters mean. We're just really excited for you and your student, for them to be able to take their next steps to education after high school. We know it's been a challenging year with financial aid, and we're just so grateful that you're persisting through the application. Washington State has one of the most generous financial aid packages in the nation. And Unfortunately, we have one of the lower application rates. We want to make sure this is your students' money. They're entitled to it. It's entitlement based. And so if they're eligible, we want to make sure that they get their money for school. If you have any questions, please feel free to use our resources and come to one of our events. Thank you so much for helping your student with their application for financial aid.